He was dressed handsomely, but had a long beard, scraggly white hair and had a face about as long as my own. He took a seat at the back and bowed his head down and remained there for a time. I sat, body twisted in no subtle fashion so as to face him, and stared. He finally looked up and returned my gaze. He rose from his seat and took small steps as he reached my row and took a seat next to mine. "You must be Setman Hape." His voice came from a cavernous place deep within his chest, for his words were low but well portioned in volume. His accent was vaguely Eastern European. "You know me, sir?" I inquired. "Not too many immortal Egyptians from the time before Seti I were friends with Wulf," he said, rather plainly. "I see, so Wulf told you about me. 1,000 apologies, but he never breathed a word about you to me. May I inquire as to who you are and how you know my dear friend Wulf?" "You may call me Vlad Tsepish," he said. There was no possible way the infamous Vlad the Impaler was sitting next to me, attending the funeral of the last living elf and my friend, Wulf Greenhunt. What manner of joke is this? I grumbled to myself, turning from him. What? Do you not take my seriously? You, an immortal Egyptian who befriended an elf, don't see the possibility of a vampire also existing an entertainable concept? He smiled as he rested his hands on his knees. No matter, I did not come here to make friends with those of Wulf. I came to pay respects to an old nemesis turned friend. You see, when I was young and thirsted for the conquest of the old world, I happened upon Wulf and his people in the unforgiving terrains of northern Moldova. They were passing through my conquered lands and laid waste to every contingent sent to capture them. I finally went myself to meet them and parley. Wulf received me and said simply, leave us to pass to Germania and we will do no further harm. Speak not of us and we will leave you a gift. I accepted this gift, which was a fruit of sorts. The name has long escaped me, and the tree which bore it came from the Middle East but has long since gone extinct. I took a bite of it and was granted the immortal life I have since been infamous for, requiring blood to sustain myself the last several hundred years. It's true, by the way, before you ask. I do require blood, but I do not drink it, I merely undergo transfusions to sustain myself. My body long stopped producing blood, but as long as I acquire a fresh supply every so often, my body soldiers on. It was an immensely strange thing, hearing this story. I almost didn't believe him, but his knowing Wulf and being close enough for Wulf to tell him about me, was all the proof I needed he wasn't lying. After discovering what happened to me, I hunted Wulf down to have him undo the effects of the fruit, but he said no such method existed. I eventually learned to see this gift for what it was, and befriended Wulf, offering him and his people protection in times of war and turbulence. I did ask that he keep my existence a secret. The world believed I had died and I wanted it that way. I trust you'll do the same in exchange for my remaining silent about you. I had no intention of revealing him to anyone, who would believe me anyhow. I didn't care if Jesus Christ himself showed up to Wulf's funeral, all I knew was my friend was gone, the last person who shared my distant memories of times past. Anyone I would meet from now on would serve only as companionship for a few decades. Immortality was handy for surviving dangers, but a rotten curse for maintaining relationships of affection, or even love. Part of me wished to befriend Vlad, perhaps he felt the same way, but I knew that wouldn't last. He likely enjoyed seclusion as much as I in order to keep his secret safe. I won't say anything. I do feel some measure of comfort that there will be at least one other person roaming this world who knew Wulf. His memory won't be my burden to shoulder alone. I thank you for that, I said. I feel much the same. The time has come to part, I'm afraid. The weather outside is due to clear up and I must beat the sun back to my home. It was a pleasure meeting you. He stood, tipped his head to me and out the door he went. I shook my head incredulously and whispered to Wulf, what a life you've led, indeed.